Section 10. Hyperreal comparison. If you are already satisfied with the infinite expected value case for the afterlife, then you can skip this section and the one after. This section will be addressing some counterpoints typically used against situations of infinite expected value, and try to make the case that using the expected value framework for the afterlife, with some modification, operates within our natural and intuitive decision-making process. A major flaw raised against using the expected value framework with an infinite parameter can be shown in a thought experiment called Pascal's mugging. The experiment was originally proposed by philosopher Nick Bostrom and posits that if a mugger without a weapon said he'd make you happy forever, or some long finite period, in exchange for your wallet, the infinite expected value of the situation would call for you to oblige him, despite the astronomically low possibility he will make good on his promise. Despite the infinitely positive offer, we know there is historical evidence and verifiable experiences with muggers, and our brains inform us that the robber has every reason to be lying to you, and obliging him would be foolish. Dissecting our mental reaction to the mugger reveals that we never take claims and stated probabilities in isolation. We actually compare them against other claims and approximate probability for ourselves. In this situation, there are actually two mutually exclusive claims, the second of which is called doubt. In doubt, your brain makes a mental counteroffer based on your evidenced preconceptions, and you decide which offer has a higher probability of being true. However, the presence of infinity is still problematic for us. Even if your brain assigns an infinitely high expected value to doubting the mugger, the two expected values of the mugger's offer and your brain's counteroffer are both infinity, which suggests both outcomes are equally valuable. This equality is also not congruent with our intuitive decision-making, which should suggest your brain's offer is far greater than the mugger's. A more accurate model for how we make decisions is needed when dealing with infinite expected values, and I believe is achieved with hyperreal numbers, which were proven as logically consistent by mathematician Abraham Robinson in 1960 and solved long-standing tenuous issues within mathematics pertaining to any proof that involved infinitesimals. For our purposes, a hyperreal number, denoted by h, essentially represents an infinite number that you can multiply, divide, add, subtract, and quantitatively compare. Using hyperreal numbers makes all the following equations valid. This is not an arbitrary choice, as I believe it is demonstrably representative of the intuitive computations we do in our brain. Suppose, for example, a glowing angelic figure suddenly manifests next to the mugger and proclaims if you give her your wallet instead, she would make you happy forever. If we had to give our wallet to the human mugger or the angelic mugger, we intuitively know the better option is to trust the angel's word. Although the expected value of both offers are still infinite, our brains somehow know one expected value is more infinite. This is permissible with hyperreal numbers, as we intuitively know the odds of the miraculous angel making good on her promise are significantly higher than the odds the mugger will. If I presumed there was a 20% chance that the angel is trustworthy and a 0.0001% the mugger is trustworthy, then the decision to trust the angel can be represented as follows. Of course, the last example demanded we must give our wallet to one of them, so even if we doubted both of them, we still had to fork over our wallet to the one we doubted less. A more true-to-life scenario is in the original case of our brain against the mugger, wherein we can refuse to give him our wallet on the basis of our mental counter-offer of doubt. We know we should doubt the mugger's promise because our doubt scales in proportion to the absurdity of the promise. If the mugger said, "I will give you $100,000 tomorrow if you give me $100 right now," we are not more likely to accept his offer than if he said, "I will give you $1,000 if you give me $100 right now." In fact, although we shouldn't believe either promise, the smaller promise is more believable than the larger promise because we know it is more plausible for a mugger, who clearly needs more money as he is mugging, to have $1,000 tomorrow than $100,000. What this reveals is that our doubt scales in proportion to the promised reward, but it doesn't scale linearly but non-linearly based on absurdity. The same scaling applies to a promise of infinite reward from a random person who clearly can't deliver, and probably wouldn't deliver even if they could. Although the mugger's offer is still of infinite value, by using hyperreals, we can now choose to infinitely doubt his ability to provide infinite reward, making the expected value framework result in line with what our intuition expects. If we assign keeping our wallet an arbitrary outcome value of 100 and apply hyperreal doubt to the mugger's hyperreal claim, the equation might look something like this, which cancels out to this. Of course, we don't always have to infinitesimally doubt all hyperreal outcome values. In the example involving the miraculous appearance of the angelic mugger, some people might reasonably give her their wallet. In such cases, our behavior is dictated by the subjective choice of whether we decide to infinitesimally or finitely doubt, represented by one of two equations. To reiterate, we can't easily dismiss the afterlife in the same way, as it is inherently and uniquely unverifiable. In the face of this, if our brain assigns an infinitesimal probability or hyperreal outcome value towards categorically denying the afterlife, it is doing so without any verifiable evidence. It is speculating, and speculation on this topic is infinitely risky. The argument re-emerges to handle the infinite risk with the safe gambit, though the addition of hyperreals doesn't necessarily logically demand this anymore. On the other hand, a positive development of what we have discussed is that we have rediscovered the optimal gambit. In cases where verifiable evidence is available, our brain compares different propositions against our personal doubts and makes a decision, even when infinite values are present. Rational decision-making suggests choosing the option with the highest expected value, hence the optimal gambit.